about the recordings, you'll have to say got it if you're at home to know that that's happening. In this series of sermons on celebrating, I decided to include one on celebrating our bodies. Perhaps that's a sermon I need to hear at 71 years of age. My body is certainly not what it used to be. Yet it's still a marvelous thing. It gets me from here to there, a little slower, but it gets me there. It helps me take in information and entertainment. It allows me to hug folks that I love, at least if they're vaccinated. And I really view it as a part of me. I don't think of myself as a spiritual being walking around in a meat suit, as some people call it. This body is a part of me, defects and all included. And my thinking is that yours is also a part of you. Now, if you think of it, though, as only the house you live in, it's still the house you live in now. So it still should be important to you. So either way you think about it theologically, your body's important. And I'm encouraging us today to celebrate our bodies. When we go to the doctor, we get an annual checkup. Most of us, some of us do, if you are smart about that. And we're always proud of some things and not so proud of others. But we don't have to make straight A's on that exam. I am suggesting, though, that to celebrate our bodies, we sort of need a straight A attitude, meaning we need to strive for excellence, at least as much as possible. So I've come up with 5 A words that will help us prepare for that celebration. The first is appreciation. We need to appreciate our bodies. So here's some amazing facts that I found out, which may help us appreciate our wondrous bodies. Actually, some of these are pretty useless information, but it may be stuff you don't know, and I don't want anyone to leave the service without learning something new. So here's the first one. Don't stick out your tongue if you want to hide your identity. Did you know that similar to fingerprints, everyone also has a unique tongue print? Second, your pet isn't the only one in the house with a shedding problem. Humans shed about 600,000 particles of skin every year. The average person will lose about 105 pounds of skin by age 70. I don't know why I weigh so much then. Oh, well. The third is about your bones. Did you know that an adult has fewer bones than a baby? We start off life with 350 bones, but because bones fuse together during growth, we end up with about 206 as adults. Did you know that you get a new stomach lining every 3 to 4 days? If you didn't, the strong acids your stomach uses to digest foods would also digest your stomach. Your nose is not as sensitive as a dog's, but it can remember 50,000 different scents. I don't know how they can measure that, but that's what they say. The small intestine is 4 times as long as the average adult is tall. As the average adult, not me, the average adult. 4 times as the average adult is tall. If it weren't looped back and forth upon itself, its length of 18 to 23 feet would not fit into that abdominal cavity without making it rather messy. So it's all in there. I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. They do that surgery. They'll pull it all out. You know, there's a bunch of it in there, though. This 7th fact might make your skin crawl. Every square inch of skin on the human body has about 32 million bacteria. Every square inch has 32 million bacteria on it. But fortunately, most of them are harmless. All that living on us. Now, the source of your smelly feet, like your armpits, is sweat. And people sweat buckets from their feet. A pair of feet has 500,000 sweat glands and can produce about more than a pint of sweat a day. The air from a human sneeze can travel at speeds of 100 miles an hour or more from your sneeze. Another good reason to mask up or cover your sneezes with tissues. Wow, 100 miles an hour. Woo. The 10th fact is about saliva. You may not want to swim in your spit, but if you saved it all up, you could. In a lifetime, the average person produces 25,000 quarts of saliva, enough to fill 2 swimming pools. Now that I've given you plenty to appreciate, plenty to appreciate. The second A is to attend and care for our bodies. Attend to your body. Now, I don't need to give most of you a lesson on this, and I'm not an expert anyway. Most folks in the Zoom and here in this room, we know about this. We have a pretty good idea of what we need to do. We need to exercise our bodies, clean them, keep them from getting too cold or too hot, fulfill other needs when appropriate, and of course, help them to relax and to sleep. So I'm no expert, but I'm good at finding experts, or at least people who have interesting things to say. So here's what some of them say. Our friend Paul the Apostle tells the Corinthians, do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Our own Henry David Thoreau also used the temple metaphor, saying, every man is the builder of a temple called his body, nor can he get off by hammering marble instead. The Buddha gave this advice. To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. Here's some musings from that distinguished Englishman of letters, Samuel Johnson. Quote, some people have a foolish way of not minding or pretending not to mind what they eat. For my part, I mind my belly very studiously and very carefully, for I look upon it that he who does not mind his belly will hardly mind anything else. And Inga Spencer's yoga teacher, BKS Iyengar, I apologize if I didn't say that right, Inga, but says, the body is your temple. Keep it pure and clean for the soul to reside in. But I think I prefer Shakespeare's metaphor from Othello. He says, our bodies are our gardens. Our wills are our gardeners. In the early days of the automobile, John Kendrick Bangs wrote, what fools indeed we mortals are to lavish care upon a car with ne'er a bit of time to see about our own machinery. I've taken that advice to heart. And just as I get regular oil changes and tune-ups for my Prius, I get regular checkups and even treat myself to a pedicure in that massage chair. And the manicurist, she massages my feet, you know, and my legs. As far as Robert Vaught shares, massage is the only form of physical pleasure to which nature forgot to attach consequences. Think about that for a minute. Now, one thing I need to do better is sleep. D.H. Lawrence writes, and if tonight my soul may find her peace in sleep and sink in good oblivion, and in the morning wake like a new open flower, then I have been dipped in God and new created. Yeah. You say that you're dying to get a good night's sleep. You could mean that literally. You can go without eating for weeks without succumbing, they say. Haven't tried that. But 11 days is tops for going without sleep. After 11 days, you'll be asleep forever. Got to get your sleep. So we need to appreciate our bodies and to attend to and care for them. But let's not fool ourselves. While our bodies are wondrous, they can wreak havoc. They are far from perfect. In fact, if we are indeed created in God's image, then God's not perfect. In fact, God got some problems. So our third A is that we need to alleviate pain and suffering in our bodies if possible. It seems that our precious, wondrous bodies are constantly being attacked. Yes, attacked by things like coronaviruses and other viruses, bacteria, cancer cells, allergens, disease, and poison ivy. And of course, the aging process kicks in with some aches and pains as well. Thank God, or the gods or goddesses, take your pick, for the healers and scientists. for the wondrous powers of vaccines, medicines, and medical procedures. Since the dawn of humanity, people have always sought ways through magic or medicine to alleviate pain and suffering. I do not understand the religious groups that reject medical help. However, I've also become aware that our society has become somewhat paranoid about having every test possible done for every little thing. Some folks are, every little thing, and taking medication that perhaps we do not need. And indeed, where the risks and costs don't make sense. Like many advances in society, we can use them in a healthy manner or not so healthy. And indeed, addiction to pain pills has been a major concern for years. After I broke my wrist several years ago, I was given a prescription for Oxycontin. And I was told that if I needed another round, I could get it. So when I ran out, I thought, well, I just go to the doctor's office and get another prescription. But I knew they couldn't just call that one in. You have to actually get the piece of paper and take it into the pharmacy. But it was a Friday. And I was told by the folks at the Optum Orthopedics office that it would be Monday before a doctor who could be there who could write a prescription for that. I got back in my car and my emotions just took over. I started crying in the car while I was driving. And y'all know I rarely cry. So I realized just how addicted those things were and vowed not to get any more. Yet when we really need the medication, I'm the first to shout, hallelujah for drugs. And when I get really, really sick, y'all call the hospice and tell them to bring it on. Medical science is a wondrous thing, and possibly though a slippery slope for disaster when we're not careful. Like most good things in life, it becomes a balancing act. There can be too much of a good thing. Somewhere, some kind of good thing, it turns, you know what I mean? It turns. A lot of good things we do are like that. It's up to us to recognize those turning points. Our fourth A is, believe it or not, alter your body if it's reasonable, healthy, and meaningful to do so. For example, I'm glad that we have ways to replace body parts now. We have folks in our congregation who are able to participate more fully in society because of this. Again, hallelujah. But then there are other ways to alter our bodies that may not be as acceptable to some folks. As some of you know, I was raised in a beauty shop. My mom made a good living by altering people's hair. She curled straight hair, straightened curly hair, colored gray hair, and bleached dark hair. She also plucked and dyed eyebrows, painted fingernails. Women walked into her shop feeling depressed and walked out feeling beautiful. Maybe that was also because my mom gave them a good head massage with their shampoo. And she also listened to them as a good therapist when they tell their stories. In any case, growing up in that environment probably gave me a more open view to folks making shifts and changes in their appearance. Of course, the possibilities for doing that were much more limited in Statesboro in the 50s and 60s. With the growth of plastic surgery, tattoo parlors, and other industry primed to get our dollars in return for modifying our appearance, there are greater and more expensive opportunities. But again, my philosophy is one of permissiveness with caution and moderation. Now, what may be moderate for some may not be for others. And sometimes we have to work on being more tolerant about this. My son, Fred, got his first tattoo when he was in high school, too young to legally get one and without my permission. But he always looked older than he was, so I'm not blaming the tattoo artist. Because he was thin and always wore a shirt when he went swimming to cover up his skinny body, at least that's what I thought he was doing, I was totally unaware of the tattoos. Eventually, they moved further down his arms, though, and by then he was a grown man. It frustrated me at first, and I was not at all understanding. But you know, these tattoos were all special to them. Each one had a special meaning for something going on in his life, you know. They somehow helped him to feel better about himself. He told me that this artwork was something he could take with him all the way to the grave. And now he's buried with that art. I'm glad that I learned to accept and appreciate Fred's body and the beautiful artwork on it. And then there's my friend Elijah, who's given me permission to share his story and use his real name. Elijah is his real name because he had it changed legally, but it's not his birth name. Yes, Elijah is a transgender person, and I encouraged him to write a story, and he's begun that process. Here's what he sent me. He said, I knew I was different from an early age. I never really did the girl thing. I didn't play with Barbies. I didn't wear dresses. I didn't like girl things. I always liked boy things. I was the ultimate tomboy. I did all the boy things. I climbed things. I played in the dirt. I got into fights. I played basketball and played video games with the boys in my neighborhood. I played with Hot Wheels. I played outside. I even had a boy haircut. And I had way more male friends than female friends. That flip-flop. That has flip-flopped now, though, he said, as far as the male friends and female friends. Growing up, he said, I just dealt with what was going on because I knew better than to voice anything about how I felt. I came out as a lesbian at the age of 15 and dove into the GLBT community, which was called then, that I found online. I found a queer chat room and met a few trans men that were in it. After talking to them for a while, I realized that I was transgender. I didn't come out trans until I was 17 years old. When I first came out, I really didn't have a support system. My family was freaking out at the time. It's been 5 years since I first came out, and they're still not dealing with it. My father and I don't have much of a relationship due to his ignorance and not accepting me. All of my family members refuse to call me Elijah. There isn't much I can do about it. Elijah shared with me that he has begun the T process, which is taking male hormones. This will alter his body to be more of a match with the person he feels that he is. He would like to have a mastectomy, but that's very costly, and it will probably take him a long time to save up the money. He says, however, that his girlfriend helps him to feel better about his body, and that he's finally being able to take the hormones. That's made him happy. I am hopeful that one day Elijah can have a body that more clearly matches his gender identity. Our other friend, the school bus driver, I don't remember the name right now. She did get her surgery. You know, you save up the money, get other people to help you out. But then, as Elijah points out himself, none of us can be totally satisfied with everything about our bodies. And we have to learn to accept some things. And that, of course, is the final A. Accept your body. There are some things we might change, but there are other things we may not. You can probably think of some of these for yourself right now. Are there some physical activities that you could do at one time, but are now difficult for you? Maybe it takes a little longer, or in some cases you just say, I'm not doing that anymore. No way. I used to love to climb mountains and do that kind of thing. I'm not going to risk that anymore, you know? But in any case, when it comes to our bodies, that serenity prayer of accepting the things we cannot change is valuable. Not only have I learned to accept that my physical abilities are different than they used to be, I also need to accept that my body, no matter how much I exercise, is not going to look like it used to look. And I've decided that's okay. A while back, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror after stepping out of the bath, and I thought, you know, my body looks like one of those in those Renaissance paintings. Yeah, I could join Rubens' Three Graces and fit right in. The women in those Renaissance paintings had real substance. Yes, I decided I've become a woman of substance, a Renaissance woman. I later shared that revelation with my friend Amelia on the telephone, and she responded, Jane, you have always been a Renaissance woman. Your body is just now catching up. So how is your report card? Are you making straight A's on your attitude about your body by appreciating your body, attending to your body, alleviating pain and suffering, altering your body when it's meaningful and healthy, and accepting your body. One of my favorite songs is the one we sang earlier or heard earlier. Some of us sang very softly. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. I do love to dance, even though it gets me in trouble sometimes. My body likes to move to the music. It's one way I can celebrate my body. This past week, I found myself dancing at the edge of the tide, moving my arms out and in and letting the waves be my partner. You know, it was glorious. Now, I can't do the hard floor, jump up and down for hours dancing that I used to do, and that's okay. One day, we may all have to dance to slow our dancing down, maybe even dance from a chair or even from a hospital bed. But I hope we can celebrate our bodies in whatever way we can. Do as my mama advised and dance all the way to the exit door. May it be so. That's my message for you today.